Good evening. Thank you all for joining us. My name is Arlette Smith, and I am co-chair of the NCLR Board of Directors.
And I am Nancy Geimer, co-chair of the NCLR Board of Directors.
It is just so hard to believe that it has actually been a year since we first tried a virtual gala. And since then, yes, we have all picked up countless video skills such as virtual backgrounds, chats, raised hands, and admittedly, there are some of us that are still having difficulty trying to figure out when to mute and unmute ourselves at the appropriate times. But the good news is that there is finally a light at the end of this tunnel. And we just cannot wait till we are able to be in celebration with all of you once again in person.
This past year at NCLR has been nothing short of amazing. Our executive director, Imani Rupert Gordon, started on the first day of shelter in place in San Francisco and has shown us she is even more of a leader, a thinker, and an all-around wonderful human than we could ever have hoped for. In this past year, NCLR has strengthened our safety net, improved our systems of operation, and supported a full team through the pandemic without a layoff or a reduction of output.
We want to express our gratitude and our thanks to all of you for your continued and unwavering support of NCLR. And it is just such a good feeling to know that our community continues to be by our side as we fight for justice wherever we are needed. And we would also like to extend thanks to our incredible, committed board of directors and staff. We are truly honored to serve with you, and we are just so proud of our NCLR team.
Please enjoy the event this evening, and please continue to give. You make the work of NCLR possible. Thank you.
Good evening, NCLR family. My name is Michael Tate, and it is my absolute honor to be with you tonight. Thank you to Nancy and Arlette for that incredibly warm welcome and for contributing so much of their time and energy to this incredible work. Now, before we dive in, a few housekeeping items. First, please use the chat. Everyone is enthusiastically invited to participate. It's a great way to share the love and make connections during this evening's event. Second, I hope that each of you who sponsored or signed up to host a table is enjoying this modern, interactive touch. Now, if you're viewing the celebration, but you're not at a table, don't worry. Feel free to text a friend and have them join you at any of the open tables from 100 to 115 for a group experience. Now, if you're having challenges, no worries. Look for the help table at the end of the table list with any questions. Now, while we all know this event is not the same as being in person, it is an opportunity to say hello to your friends, toast the work of NCLR, and to meet some new fans of this amazing organization. So please enjoy. Now, I could not be more excited this evening, even though I'm sitting here in my bedroom, to be sharing this virtual party space with my amazing, sassy, and super smart friend, Michelle Meow. Michelle, let's do this.
Oh my gosh, Michael, it is so nice to see your electric smile. I miss you so much. And I can't wait for that moment in which we're sharing a stage side by side in person. I know we're going to get there, so it's all good, but I'm super excited to be here tonight. And hello, NCLR. I, like so many of us, actually, I should say all of us tonight, we're a huge fan of this treasured, iconic, legendary organization that has done so much for us. And so I'm so thrilled to be sharing space with all of you tonight to support this incredible organization. This is going to be a great night of inspiration, celebration, and community. We have unbelievable entertainment. I mean, I can't even contain myself. Like, can you say Ani and Andrea? This is so great. I'm so excited. And true champions in politics, media, activism, entertainment, and more. And there's some fun tonight. There's a contest complete with prizes. So all you got to do is take a selfie. I know we all do it in secret every day. And we're going to send that selfie to NCLR. You could win dinner for two delivered to your home. And the way to win is in 4 categories, actually. So it's not just one person. So the first category is best matching, and it can be matching person, matching pet or animal, and even matching thing or furniture. I know, I had to think about this a little bit. Matching furniture? It makes complete sense. I can't tell you how many times I have matched my couch. The second category is most NCLR swag. So whatever it is, I know you got it. Take out the pens, the NCLR, the hat, the cozies, the scarves, the tote bags, the wine glasses, whatever it is. You get a chance to win with a selfie with the most NCLR swag. And then the third category is most fanciest. And so if you got decked out tonight, ready to walk the red carpet, yes, please send in your selfie. You have a chance to win as well. And then finally, the fourth category is if you're like me and you're still in your quarantine couture. And basically what that means is the, well, I guess least fanciest. But anyway, yes, you have a chance to win as well. So send in your photo. I'll kick us off. I'll do it. You take a selfie. So I'm going to take a selfie of my lower half. Don't get any ideas. It's basically a selfie of my pajama pants. And so, yeah, I'm trying to win that least fanciest. And you're going to email that photo to development@nclrights.org and then post the hashtag. Can't forget this, the hashtag NCLR Champions 2021.
Well, okay, Michelle, I love that. I feel like there's a category for everybody. So do it. If nothing else, you're going to have a fun time sending your pictures, and we're going to have a great time seeing you. Thank you so much. Now, more about the work of NCLR, changing our world through legislation, litigation, public policy, and education. Now, as I mentioned, I'm a big fan of NCLR. I'll admit it. There is no shame. And as a gay man, I want to clarify something that I think is incredibly important here. NCLR was actually founded by lesbians in the 1970s. They responded to a need of members of our community at a time when both the women's rights movement and the gay rights movement were not as inclusive and supporting of lesbians in the way they needed. But NCLR has always served all of the LGBTQ community and has done so through a feminist lens. I love that. This means with compassion, inclusivity, and a true understanding and appreciation of gender equity. I love all of it, Michelle. I can't handle it. I'm having so much fun.
And so am I. I love it as well. As someone who has identified as lesbian, as queer, as gender nonconforming, I have always felt like NCLR is home. It's a space where I am seen for all of me, my culture, my ethnicity, my orientation, my gender. And this is how it should be for all of us everywhere and anywhere. And so if it's not, it's definitely a goal for all of us. And who else, if not lesbians, to fully appreciate and defend gender protections for everyone. So let's get to it and kick it off with our first Champions awardee.
Absolutely. Let me take it from here. Now, we have seen a record number of LGBTQ elected officials in the past few years. Our first champions hold elected office, and we are so grateful that they do. Malcolm Kenyatta was elected to the Pennsylvania State Senate in November of 2018 and joined NCLR at our last in-person gala in 2019. And folks, today he is now running for the US Senate for the state of Pennsylvania. Wow. And Sarah McBride, she's the nation's first ever transgender state senator from the great state of Delaware. They are young, fierce, inspirational, and they are truly leading us into the future.
Hi, everybody. State Representative Malcolm Kenyatta here, and I could not be more honored, seriously, to be named one of this year's Champions of Justice. When I look at the other honorees on this list, I am just blown away to be included in the number, to be listed along with some of these barrier breakers and table shakers who continue to call us higher and continue to pursue this simple idea that I've tried to push forward here in Pennsylvania, that no matter who you are, who you love, what you look like, how you worship, where you're from, that in this Commonwealth and in the country at large, you get a fair shot and a fair shake. You know, here in Philadelphia, we have the great distinction of being the city where so many of America's foundational documents were authored. But when you think about those ideas that you find littered throughout those pages, these ideas of freedom and justice and fairness, pursuit of happiness, these ideas haven't always been real for every American. And that's where the work of NCLR has come in. Inside and outside of the courtroom, demanding that the promise of this country include every single one of us, that our government truly sees us, and that we're embraced in our communities. But that is the real infectious thing about bravery. Bravery begets bravery. When one person steps up to call us higher, to demand better for our families and communities, it encourages other people to do the same. I know NCLR and your dedicated team and supporters are not going to stop the groundbreaking work that you have done to call us higher. I know that the other honorees on this list aren't going to stop doing that work. And I make the commitment.
Hi, everyone. I am so excited to join you all for the NCLR Virtual Gala. I am so excited to be able to join you and accept the Champion of Justice honor from an organization that has inspired me throughout my career and throughout my life. As an advocate and now as an elected official, I have seen firsthand the effectiveness of NCLR. I have seen how they are on the front lines of change, how they are on the front lines of the fight for LGBTQ equality in courtrooms, in Congress, in state legislatures, in city halls, and in communities across this country. I've seen how tireless the advocates at NCLR are. I have seen just how much they contribute to our movement, to our community, and to our country. And so it is deeply moving for me to accept this honor from an organization that has inspired me for so long. You know, I ran for office for two overarching reasons. One is I saw that the only way to achieve equality for everyone in our community is to ensure that we leave nobody behind, to fight for racial justice, immigrant rights, economic justice for everyone. Because if we don't, we will not achieve true equality for everyone in the LGBTQ community. That intersectional lens, that intersectional reality is at the heart of NCLR's work. I also ran for office because after 10 years of seeing change in the LGBTQ movement, I am as hopeful as I have ever been that for all the challenges we face on issues across the spectrum, we can bring about seemingly impossible change when we work for it, when we fight for it, when we lift our voices for it. The work of NCLR informs that hope. It informs that optimism that we have what it takes to meet this moment with real change when it comes to equality, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to education, when it comes to racial justice, when it comes to immigrant rights. Because the story of NCLR is the story of transforming change that once seemed so impossible that it was almost incomprehensible, not just into possibility, but into reality today. That is the story of this organization. That is the story of our movement. That is the story of the fight for justice. And so I am proud to join you all. I am honored to accept this award, and I look forward to continuing to work alongside you in this fight for justice for every single person. Thank you.
Thank you, Senators Kenyatta and McBride. You bring hope to our hearts, and we are so grateful for your service. I would love to introduce our next Champions for Justice awardees. LGBTQ liberation has always been supported, protected, and advanced by our LGBTQ media. Two of our publications tonight, the Bay Area Reporter in San Francisco and the Windy City Times in Chicago, have been bringing us the news, the arts, the community that few, if any, in mainstream media outlets covered 50 years ago when they began. Happy 50th to these two incredible local LGBTQ publications.
Hi, I'm Michael Yamashita, publisher of the Bay Area Reporter. I'm Jim Provenzano, Arts and Nightlife Editor.
And I'm Cynthia Laird, News Editor. We are proud to be recognized by the National Center for Lesbian Rights at its Champions for Justice Gala. This year marks the 50th anniversary of the Bay Area Reporter. In that time, we have covered the LGBTQ community, chronicling our triumphs and challenges, and informing readers about important issues, including significant legal victories by NCLR over the years. Thanks again.
And thanks to our donors, members, and advertisers, we've been able to cover the arts and nightlife community and support them through the pandemic and beyond.
On behalf of the Bay Area Reporter, thank you very much, NCLR, for this honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kirk Williamson, Art Director and Associate Editor of Windy City Times.
Hello, I'm Andrew Davis, Executive Editor of Windy City Times. Hey, Amani.
Hello, I'm Matt Simonette, Managing Editor for Windy City Times. Hello, Amani.
And hi, I'm Tracy Boehm, co-founder of Windy City Times. We started in 1985, and many of these folks here have been with us for many years. Two of our colleagues couldn't join us today. They're sorry and send their wishes. This is Jean Albright, Director of New Media, and this is Terry Klinsky, the publisher of the Windy City Times. Thank you very much, National Center for Lesbian Rights. Like you, we believe in making sure that all parts of our community are represented. While we're no longer in print, we are going to be online, and we thank you very much for this honor tonight. It means a lot to hear this coming from a national organization such as yours. Thank you.
Well, thank you, BAR. I'm so excited to introduce our next champion. Andrea Gibson is an award-winning poet, author, and activist. Their work is profound and speaks to so many of us, focusing on gender norms, politics, social reform, and the struggles LGBTQ people face in today's society. One of my favorite Andrea Gibson quotes is, "I said to the sun, tell me about the Big Bang. The sun said, it hurts to become." Welcome NCLR Champion for Justice, Andrea Gibson, directly followed by a spotlight on NCLR's incredible work.
Hi, everyone. I want to thank NCLR for this Champion of Justice honor. My name is Andrea Gibson, and I am a queer, non-binary poet whose writing focuses on a myriad of social justice issues. I try to write celebratory, uplifting poems for the queer community, but I'm also fueled by the knowing that even when the truth isn't hopeful, the telling of it is. And I want to thank NCLR for advocating for truth for so many years, for fighting for the rights of the LGBTQ community, for continuously advocating for the most vulnerable members of our community. I know the work can often be heartbreaking, and y'all have been so heart-mending to so many of us for so long. So thank you. I'm going to read you a poem titled Your Life, which is a genderful pep talk to my younger self. I wrote it a few years ago, hoping it would comfort LGBTQ youth and remind them that their lives are precious. It isn't that you don't like boys. It's that you only like boys you want to be. David with his jaw carved out of the side of a cliff. Malcolm, who doesn't have secrets, just stories he owes no one. Chris, the basketball hero who has a tic. He blinks 15 times when he makes a shot. You spend hours blinking in the mirror, wishing you could be a star like him. Mary Levine calls you a dyke, and you don't have the language to tell her she's wrong and right. So you just show up to her house, promising to paint your fingernails red with what will gush from her busted face if she ever says it again. You're in the 7th grade. You don't even know you want a girlfriend. You still believe too much in the people who believe in Jesus to even feel that desire through its health threat. You just want to kick your desk on the way to the principal's office, slouch in detention. You want to cut your hair and spit out whatever you don't want in your mouth, your own name even, skirting around the truth. You don't yet know the boys are building their confidence on stolen land, but you do worry the girls might be occupied with things you will never understand, won't ever be good at. You take one pretty step and feel like you're pouring bubbles into your own bloodbath. You don't want a soft death. You want a hard life that is your life. Your life in the locker room that doesn't stop demanding you keep your eyes on the floor. Your life at the prom where you run home in a snowstorm, chucking your last pair of heels in a snowbank, realizing you are the only boy you ever wanted to tear your dress off for. Your life the first Christmas you spend alone, the years you'll learn to build your family out of scratch. Your life when someone drags you from a restroom by the collar of your coat. Your life every time airport security screams pink or blue, trying to figure out what machine setting to run you through. Choosing your life and how that made you into someone who now often finds it easy to explain your gender by saying you are happiest on the road when you're not here or there, but in between, a yellow line running down the center of it all like a sunbeam. Your name is not a song you will sing under your breath. I promise your pronouns haven't even been invented yet. You're gonna shave your head and drive through Texas. You're gonna kill your own God so you can fall in love for the first time. They're going to keep telling you your heartbeat is a pre-existing condition. They're going to keep telling you you are a crime of nature, and you are going to look at all your options and choose conviction. Choose to carve your own heart out of the side of a cliff. Choose to spend your whole life telling secrets you owe no one to everyone, till there isn't anyone who can insult you by calling you what you are. You holy, blinking star. You highway streak of light, falling over and over for your hard life, your perfect life, your sweet and beautiful life. Thank you, everyone.
NCLR was created to be inclusive and intersectional. When we were created, it was because the women's movement didn't consider the needs and the values of LGBTQ people. And then also, we were largely left out of what was then known as the gay rights movement. We always knew that in order to take care of our community, that we would have to take care of all of our community. And since that is our birthright, our mission is crystal clear. It's our job to make sure that no one's left behind in our movement.
NCLR's federal policy work can be grouped into, I think, a few main buckets. One is furthering racial and economic justice. Another is advancing non-discrimination protections for our community at the federal level. Another is promoting the health and well-being of our youth. We also want to work toward a more just immigration policy. And then finally, another really important bucket is strengthening relationships and families.
So for example, we see very tragic situations where parents who are actually trying to affirm and support their transgender children are actually losing custody and having their children forcibly removed by the state because the state views their actions in supporting their children as abusive. So we had a Michigan case involving a low-income mother who had 3 children, and her middle child was gender nonconforming. She really, went through extraordinary efforts to try to figure out what she should do about her child's requests to, wear girls' clothing, to use a girl's name, just allow her child to choose what really felt right for her child. And then the county got involved based on basically a CPS complaint that someone had made that she was letting her child wear girls' clothing, and they thought that she was forcing her child to do it. And the county actually removed all of her children from her home because she had supported her child in being able to express the gender that felt right for their child. So then we appealed, and then we went to the Michigan Supreme Court, which reversed it and said this really was based on bias and ordered that all of the orders be removed and that she could have her children back. Unfortunately, of course, the damage of the years of what happened through all of that continue to have a toll, and she doesn't have full custody of her children still. So when you have your children removed, you go on a child abuse registry, and she was a daycare provider. And so she couldn't get work because she was on the child abuse registry because of this ruling. And so then she became homeless, unable to support herself. We were finally able to remove her from the registry, and she is rebuilding her life. But these kinds of things happen to families every day, where these rulings have such tremendous ripple effects on their lives. This is the terrible bind that low-income families of color are in, that there's literally no action or choice that they can make that is seen as being a fit parent.
When people come to us, it is often one of the hardest things that has happened in their life, and we are there to tell them, we are with you, we will fight for you, we will be here by your side every step of the way. And by the way, we're not just trying to help you, we're trying to help the entire LGBTQ community and their families.
There have now been 82 bills promulgated in state legislatures directly attacking and targeting transgender children of all groups. And this is something we need to take with the utmost seriousness, and NCLR is definitely doing that. Our community, our movement has so many new opportunities to make just unprecedented progress, to tackle issues that we've really needed to tackle for a long time, like LGBTQ poverty, like decriminalizing sex work, transforming the child welfare system.
So we know that, for example, 20% roughly of young people in both juvenile justice and child welfare systems nationally identify as LGBTQ. Of those young people, some 85 to 95% are youth of color. What are the social determinants in a young person's life that give them a chance, that give them an opportunity to thrive just like we want all young people to thrive? And it doesn't look anything like child welfare or juvenile justice.
What we know is that the pathways into poverty for LGBTQ people begins with childhood. As they age, unfortunately, they don't have the social networks and the economic means to get out of poverty. NCLR understands that economic justice is an LGBTQ issue, and so how we are showing up is co-leading the National LGBTQ Anti-Poverty Action Network, which brings together LGBTQ advocates and anti-poverty advocates to ensure that policymakers and the movement are really talking about how this is an important issue for our community.
I am so proud and so excited about our Born Perfect campaign. We now have 20 states, plus the District of Columbia, plus 85, more than 85 now, cities and localities that have passed laws of prohibiting therapists from subjecting a young person to conversion therapy. It has been so encouraging to see a truly bipartisan effort and people really coming together across the political spectrum to do something so important to protect young people from a practice that is so deadly and so harmful.
We are currently actively working on around 60 pending asylum cases, and we have about 40 other pending immigration cases of different types. And we've still never lost an asylum case.
Over 70% of people believe that LGBTQ people should be protected by law. And that's everyone. This is not a partisan issue. For the first time in decades, we have an opportunity to pass anti-discrimination legislation for LGBTQ people. We finally see a path forward to pass the Equality Act. And this is a piece of legislation that would be the first ever federal protection to protect LGBTQ people. We are working to create a world that we've never seen before, but that vision is so clear in our heads. And the reason that we're able to do that, to have that kind of creativity that's in our heart and then in our work, is because we've seen how these victories create a foundation that makes justice possible. And that's the work of NCLR. And we won't stop until everyone in our community can live their lives authentically and have full lived equality.
Wow, just wow. From Andrea's poem to hearing the work of NCLR, that is why we're all here tonight. We're here to protect lives. We're here for equality. We're here for equity. We're here for the future. And that's why it's so important to support the work of NCLR. And so, Michael, how do we do that?
Oh, Michelle, thank you. And I am as moved as you are watching those stories, hearing about the work of NCLR and that powerful poem from Andrea. So we're all going to take a breath because we're going to have some fun tonight and you can be a part of it. Now, Michelle, the viewing site has a donate button on the bottom right of the screen, right under the tables. So simply click that button and it will take you to a donate page. Or you can pull out your phone and I'll show you how to text your gift. So you're going to get ready to send a new text. And since we've been all quarantined and shut down, we've been texting as our way to keep in touch. So we know how to do that. You're going to type 91999 as your recipient. And in the text message, you're going to type NCLR and then put a space. You will put the amount of your gift, and these are just round numbers. You don't need to use a $sign. Then put a space, and then finally your name. And then hit send. It's that simple.
Okay, done. I just received a text back with a link. And so I'm going to click on that and I'm going to pay my pledge. And that's it. And the phone or the donate button goes to the same payment form, right?
Absolutely. And remember, you can make your gifts throughout the program. So if you are moved at any point, feel free to give. It is as simple as that. Now, while you're making the wise investment, it is my honor to introduce our next champions for justice. These next two individuals are near and dear to NCLR's world. Activists, survivors, and leaders. Dee Farmer is an advocate for incarcerated people and an invaluable partner to NCLR. And Adam Trimmer is an advocate and conversion therapy survivor and the former Virginia ambassador of NCLR's Born Perfect.
I'd like to thank NCLR for giving me this Champion of Justice Award because in the 25 years that I've worked on transgender rights and the rights of incarcerated persons, I have seen very little recognition other than the success of the litigation or projects that I've been involved in. NCLR has been there with me throughout the years, through the ups and the downs, the cases that I've won and those that I've lost. And I just want to thank them for being by my side. And when I was released, I have to say that NCLR was the only organization that was there for me to provide some reentry support. They gave me a position as a legal consultant, and that meant a very lot to me because I know that transgender inmates coming out of prison usually don't have any support whatsoever. I want to thank NCLR for continuing to assist me in the projects that I have been working on since I've gotten out of prison, which is projects to improve the medical treatment, the housing, the safety of transgender inmates in particular. We are working hard to have transgender inmates placed in prisons where they can not only be themselves, but be free from harassment, attack, sexual abuse, or sexual harassment. And these things are very important to me. And I appreciate NCLR, putting them on the front burner of their mission because many of them lose hope in prison because they feel that no one's there for them. And to know that, NCLR is here supporting me and fighting for their safety and good housing and treatment, it brings hope in a very sad and destitute situation. And I thank all of you that have been supporting NCLR and allowing them to do the work that they do and allowing them to be able to help incarcerated persons such as myself.
Hey, y'all, thank you so much for this award. This means the most. I really appreciate being honored by an organization as reputable and amazing as the National Center for Lesbian Rights. Serving as your Born Perfect ambassador here in Virginia was an outstanding experience. We accomplished a great deal with the legislation.
My name is Adam Trimmer, and I want to say thank you for considering the implementation of Resolution 2019-R028, which would support the prohibition of conversion therapy in your city as well as throughout the state of Virginia.
Virginia becoming the 20th state to protect minors from conversion therapy by licensed professionals. As a grassroots advocate, I have been meeting with survivors on the ground here in Virginia, which has been a little less possible here with COVID-19. So what we put together with the National Center of Lesbian Rights and Born Perfect was a digital movie screening. It was an incredible experience, and we had a powerful panel. This panel is life. And I'm super grateful to have that platform to do something with such a profound impact here in Virginia. As a survivor of conversion therapy practices, I didn't have a lot of exposure to government, to regulations, to policy work. And working with Born Perfect and the National Center for Lesbian Rights was a really cool opportunity to get a lot of exposure to that, while also interacting with phenomenal groups on the ground here in Virginia, such as Alliance for Progressive Virginia, Equality Virginia, and all of these groups that honestly I had never heard of before. I didn't know that my story was going to change anything when I experienced things like conversion therapy practices and years of shame and not knowing what to do. What I've learned is that my story has power, and I encourage anyone who has a story to use it, because if you have a story, you have power. While advocating, I've learned a very valuable lesson. Diversity and inclusion is extremely important in this conversation. As we fight against conversion therapy, we can do this together, and together means all inclusive. Thank you again so much for this award. This means the most to be honored for the work that we've accomplished together, as well as for the work that I've taken on as I've faced my own traumas and my own narratives to help drive a difference for the LGBTQ community in Virginia and across the country. Thank you.
We are so lucky to have so many incredible people in our community doing great things. Michael, one of the programs at NCLR that many do not know about is Rural Pride. These events, in person and virtually this past year, are powerful ways for advocates, LGBTQ leaders, and individuals living in rural communities an opportunity to connect, engage, and create. Sparks of ingenuity and beauty fly during these events. It is my pleasure to introduce two organizational champions out in the wild in Vermont and Trans Emotion from the Central Valley of California.
I'm Eva, the Programs and Volunteer Coordinator with Out in the Open. Out in the Open connects rural LGBTQ+ people to build community, visibility, knowledge, and power. These aren't just words for us. The core of our work is building together across movements for queer, trans, and collective liberation. We thank the National Center for Lesbian Rights for all of their work for queer and trans liberation and the honor of being recognized during the 2021 Champions for Justice Gala. Take a listen to some of our board and staff share some of the ways our work builds power.
We center the voices, experiences, and wisdom of our rural queer communities. Out in the Open is a trans-led organization based in southern Vermont, with our network expanding throughout New England and into rural areas beyond. And we create spaces by and for rural queer folks for us to heal together, learn together, and organize for social justice.
We recognize, honor, and organize across the intersections of our identities and movements. Queer liberation cannot happen without Black liberation, without healing justice, economic justice, without justice for sex workers and service employees, psychiatric survivors, incarcerated folks, and everyone who has been pushed to the margins by white supremacy, capitalism, ableism. All of these struggles are our struggles.
We approach our work from the foundational intersection of ruralness and LGBTQ experiences. Through that lens, our programming directly addresses working for racial justice in mostly white communities, trans and queer health justice and access to care, prison and police abolition, economic and reproductive justice, anti-trans and LGBTQ violence, classism and the criminalization of poverty, harm reduction, and more. We know rural queer people have a critical role to play in our collective liberation, and that working together across movements is a crucial way that we can build power in our communities.
We are rooted in mutual support and rural queer community care. Since we started in 2014, Out in the Open has focused on mutual care as part of our movement building, with groups such as Trans Femme Chill Club, skill sharing workshops, resource sharing, care packages, direct support, and more.
We do all of this and more to build power in our rural LGBTQ communities while celebrating queer joy along the way. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, I'm Zane Anthony, he, him, his, and I'm the current chair of TransEmotion 2021. On behalf of all of us at TransEmotion, we would like to sincerely thank the National Center for Lesbian Rights. We feel honored to be recognized by NCLR as a champion of justice. Their commitment to advancing human and civil rights of LGBTQ people is a mission that we share as well. TransEmotion is dedicated to advocating for trans and non-binary people in the Central Valley. Our community is one faced by many challenges, especially around discrimination, poverty, healthcare, and homelessness. We combat these issues by providing peer support, referrals and linkages to resources, and emergency funds as needed. At TransEmotion, we hold 2 support groups per month. We also hold 2 events per year, one being the Transgender Day of Visibility in the spring and the Transgender Day of Remembrance in the fall. Much like how NCLR was founded by the silencing of lesbian voices in the gay rights movement, we continue to work so that trans and non-binary voices in the Central Valley are heard. We are grateful for NCLR's long history of advocating for our community and the opportunities we have to work together. As a trans-led and trans-focused organization, we benefit from the commitment that NCLR has had for our community and the important programs that NCLR has created to benefit us. Although our community experiences many challenges, there is also an incredible amount of spirit, creativity, beauty, and survival. This is the beauty and vitality of our community that we cherish and continue to support. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is amazing. Now, Michelle, we had a chance to meet NCLR's executive director at last year's virtual gala. She was brand new, arriving with lots of energy, along with a global pandemic. But that has not slowed her down. And if you ask her team, she is grace under fire, a brilliant strategist, and an advocate for all. And we love what she has done at NCLR in just 1 year.
Absolutely, Michael. And you know what? She is exactly what the movement needs right now. She is the movement. She represents all of us, including the most marginalized. Let's welcome Imani Rupert to the stage. Imani.
Thank you so much, Michael and Michelle, for the gracious introduction. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for spending your evening with us. I remember when I accepted this role, I thought about what it would feel like to speak at this event in the ballroom of the Marriott in San Francisco. But it didn't turn out that way, and this will be the second time that I speak to you at NCLR's gala wearing a gown in my living room. There's no denying that this pandemic has tested us. It's tested our commitments, our values, and our convictions. We've seen a rise in anti-Asian hate, reminding us that racism is all too prevalent in our communities. And the people that have sworn to protect us still fail at protecting all of us. And in states across the country, a barrage of anti-LGBTQ bills, especially anti-trans bills, are making the world less safe for LGBTQ young people. But we've also seen what we're capable of. The leaders that have come out against racism in our communities. Our responses to these horrible anti-LGBTQ bills, we've seen strength and compassion. and I've been able to see it firsthand on our team. Most people know that my first day in the office was also the first day of shelter in place here in California. My first official act as executive director was to shut down our office. I've never met our team in real life. Over the past year, I've been asked over and over again, can you really do that? Not get to know an organization, but get to know a collection of people without meeting them in real life. Well, I'd like to spend my night sharing with you what I've learned. This past year, NCLR senior staff attorneys continued to support the mission of the organization by filing 2 first-of-its-kind lawsuits in Arizona, one representing transgender teenagers to challenge a Medicaid exclusion, and the other representing a transgender youth challenging a surgical requirement for amending the sex listed on Arizona birth certificates. And after years of litigating, our clients, Bev and Courtney, settled their case with Friendship Village, a retirement home that denied them residency because they're a same-gender couple. And this year, our client, Adri Edmo, received her surgery, making her the first transgender prisoner to receive gender-affirming surgery through a court order. And the folks that did that work are powerhouses. Asaf has this calm about him that makes our clients feel safe. And Chris is never the first to speak, but his handprint is on every part of our legal strategy. And Amy doesn't say that we should sue for everything, but when she does, we should. And Julie is warm and smart and thorough. She asks a lot of questions because she holds us to a high standard, and she makes us better. NCLR has continued to support LGBTQ youth. Shannon Wilbur's collaborative advocacy effort to decarcerate youth in California detention centers resulted in a 30% reduction in incarcerated young people, which disproportionately impact LGBTQ youth. Shannon has also been working with Support Out in an effort to fundamentally transform the child welfare system to instead create robust safety nets to promote the well-being of all youth. And Shannon is the type of supervisor that inspires people around her to be the best versions of themselves. Her vision is as big as her heart, and it shows. NCLR's Immigration and Asylum Program is the first of its kind to support the needs of LGBTQ people entering this country. Naomi and Mateo provide trauma-informed assistance to our clients and see them through every aspect of their case. And NCLR has an unblemished record for never having lost an asylum case. Noemi is the backbone of this program, and for decades, much of the success can be attributed to her vision and leadership. And Mateo thinks about this program holistically so that we meet each person where they are. Ming Wong is the acting attorney for this program, and he coordinates the Rural Pride that NCLR hosts every year. And he continues to oversee the NCLR hotline, which connects to over 1,000 LGBTQ people all over the world. He also keeps up the staff morale in the office with his dedication to direct service, but also with strategically placed beanie babies in the office. And even though we're not in the office now, he keeps us informed of their well-being in the most creative of ways. Julie Gonen handles our DC policy work and most recently began working in coalition with our partners to prepare transition documents, advocate for strong, qualified appointments, and create agendas for the new administration. She's always excited to tell me when she can think of a new way that our work can cut across another angle, and I'm always excited to hear it. Economic and racial justice initiatives remain a core component of NCLR's mission, and that is in no small feat thanks to the leadership of Tyrone Hanley. Tyrone's work to decriminalize sex work and his leadership as co-founder of the LGBTQ Anti-Poverty Network helps to ensure that all LGBTQ people are included in movement efforts. He's also the one checking in to make sure our work-life balance is there, because he knows this is a marathon, not a sprint, and we need to be in this fight for years to come. NCLR was built around the expertise in our family law program, and it remains a core tenet of our work. Recently, Kathy Sakamura's client won her birth certificate case, which established that Indiana must list the same-sex spouse on their child's birth certificate. Families are made up in different ways, and it's our work to protect all of them. And Nesta Johnson, among other things, is fighting legislation in California and elsewhere that would expand the child welfare system, that wrongly separates more families that are disproportionately LGBTQ couples, women, and people of color. And what you might not know is that Kathy is always working to ensure that our values inside the organization match our values to our community. And Nesta is just as clever as she is kind. Her dry humor makes all of our meetings better. NCLR's Born Perfect program continues to lead a national campaign to protect youth from the harmful effects of conversion therapy. Matthew and Michael connect the personal stories of survivors with legislation, and this year we saw a record number of local ordinances passed. Matthew's vision for this program is huge, and I dare anyone not to be inspired after hearing him speak about it. And Michael just has a way of anticipating what we'll need next, and he just might be the most humble person I've ever met. Shannon Mentor oversees all of our cases. He's worked on the anti-trans bills in the states, and among so many other things, Shannon also represents NCLR on a table of LGBTQ and civil rights organizations to pass the Equality Act. There's nothing at this organization that he doesn't touch, including the lives of the rest of us. I understand why the movement relies on Shannon's wisdom, humor, and kindness, and moral clarity, because I know that I do. The quality that pushes Shannon to take care of any animal in his path is the exact same quality that informs his vision to support our community. I honestly don't know where the LGBTQ movement would be without him, and we're all lucky that we don't have to. Shreya Binwalda and Maxie B are NCLR's law clerks, and they have a hand in so much of what we do. They support the work of the attorneys, but they also draft letters and support policies that are important to our work. They question decisions and they make us all think. Shreya sees leadership everywhere, and Maxie knows something about everything. And NCLR's fabulous interns, Brio Zales, Maya Redding, and Zoe Rodolfi-Starr, support NCLR's efforts through research support and providing community education in NCLR's work. These incredible humans have done more than we could have expected in their internship. And keep a lookout for them. They're the future of this movement. Danielle King had their first day at NCLR on Monday. They'll be coordinating efforts so that all LGBTQ people can benefit from the recent Bostock decision that protects LGBTQ people from employment discrimination. We're excited to welcome Danny to the NCLR family. Christopher Vasquez makes up a one-person communications team, but you wouldn't know it. He once told me that he wanted to work here when he was invited to an NCLR event, and he learned that the work we do supports the entire LGBTQ community and that we do it better than anyone else. And he certainly lives up to that. Stacey Del Monte and Sarah Brogdon make up our finance and operations team. Now, most people wouldn't consider streamlining a payroll system, rebuilding an infrastructure, and making our audit and 990 process more efficient as flashy, but these are the things you don't notice when they work, and they make sure that we don't notice. Stacey's leadership comes from her dedication to her team. Everything she does is to push us to be better, and Sarah's always looking for ways to introduce more equitable practices at NCLR. And our development team, everyone needs one, but this is the best one you can get. This is the amazing team that found new and better ways for us to be together even while we're apart. Elizabeth Lanyon is smart and precise, and she has a heart of gold. Emails don't just write themselves, and not everyone can put thoughts into words, but Lexi can write anything. Gab has the patience that is unmatched, and that matters when you're a tech person. They make it look easy. And Tammy thinks in databases. She's curious and thoughtful, and she's absolutely hilarious. And Jen Bing, I don't know anyone that can do what she can do. Jen makes the good things great. So maybe it's hard to get to know people that you don't meet in real life. But at NCLR, who we are is so linked to how we work that despite not getting to sit next to this team around a conference room, I feel like I've gotten to know their minds and their hearts. So I can tell you with confidence that if you know and support our work, you know exactly who you're supporting. This team is made up of exactly who you think they are. And these are brilliant minds and the full hearts that you have working for you. I wouldn't recommend starting a new job during the pandemic, but the way that we've grown as a team by finding new ways to work together, to grow together, and to learn from one another is something that I will forever be grateful for. And when I look back at this, let's remember that we made the impossible possible. And then we know that we can do it again. Thank you.
Daniel was always in a costume. He didn't know what superhero he was going to be. He was always very mindful, very loving to himself and to others.
My parents would just let me dress myself however I wanted. It can be a not so fun world growing up being trans my entire life, and to be able to just come home and not have to worry about that as if that didn't exist, it's an amazing feeling. It was normal just to be who I was. It wasn't until being in middle school I was faced with like, oh, you can't go use certain bathrooms. So I had to use the nurse's bathroom as a locker room. That in itself kind of felt embarrassing because I'd have to leave class early. Sometimes I wasn't given the memo of, you know, we're not dressing out today, or maybe the nurse's office was closed, so I couldn't go get my clothes to wash them. So I just like, my clothes smelled bad sometimes. I already felt like I was different, but like not in a good way sometimes, to the point where I would go in and it's like, I really hope no one makes fun of me today. I hope I don't drink too much water today because I don't want to have to use the bathroom. Or I hope, you know, it was just mind-boggling. It didn't make sense to me because it's like, I'm a kid and I'm just, you know, this is who I am. What's the problem? I'm not doing anything wrong.
When I first met Daniel and his parents, one of the things that really impressed me is that they really took the time to try and educate the school district about the needs of transgender students, and Daniel in particular. And unfortunately, that all broke down when Daniel was about to get ready to go on an overnight field trip with the school to a science camp. And the school had been consistently saying that he'd have to sleep in a separate cabin with just him and his father, that he could not sleep in a cabin at all with any of his peers. And in fact, that he wasn't even allowed into the cabins that his peers were staying in.
And I did have to go with my dad in a separate dorm. You know, when you're 12 years old and your parents are there when they're not supposed to be, you know, other kids make fun of you. I had a handful of friends that like already knew I was trans and they were cool with it. And I was very encouraged by that until we got to the point where the school was like, no, that's not gonna happen. And it was really sad. I remember when my dad, he had told me, like I was crying, like they had to comfort me because I was just furious over that. Like it wasn't fair.
For me, that was so hard to see. And he went into the room and he just wanted to go to sleep. And he wouldn't want to be comforted. He just wanted to be in bed crying. We had to deal with that for a whole weekend. And so it was really hard. And when he came home, you know, one of the things that we gave him home, Daniel, we're going to do something about this. You know, it's not going to happen again. It's going to be much better. You're going to see it. We're going to get help.
Given that the school district was continuing to single Daniel out because he's transgender, we had no other choice than to file a complaint with the United States Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights and the United States Department of Justice. The role of the federal government in those complaints is to conduct a thorough investigation and determine what happened, and also to determine whether or not the school's conduct qualified as sex discrimination under Title IX.
It made a really big difference for us to go to Daniel's school and to actually see on the ground what he was experiencing on a daily level. So being able to see, you know, where the kids would change before PE, and that he was having to walk across the entire campus and change in a nurse's station. Getting a sense of the way that he was really being singled out and made to feel so different.
About 2 years after the Sanchez family first reached out to me, the federal government announced a resolution agreement.
The settlement agreement that, you know, was years in the making could be boiled down to one sentence, that the Arcadia Unified School District agrees to treat Daniel as a boy in all respects for the remainder of his time in school. And that is the principle that should be applied to all transgender students.
Daniel's case was the very first time that anyone had applied Title IX to protect transgender students in the context of schools. And it was really momentous because it started the Obama administration on the process of developing and ultimately releasing the transgender student guidance in May of 2016.
After the case died down, I would say things were actually pretty normal for me. I was able to just live the normal high school experience, the college experience, focus on like if my grades are good or not, or if I need to like get a job or things like that. It felt very liberating. It felt validating of who I am. I'm actually in my last semester of college studying music industry. I'm hoping I can utilize that to make the trans community more prevalent. I'm hoping that, if not myself, I can help other artists be the role model that I needed when I was younger.
Definitely after the case, it was a great satisfaction that you were able to provide exactly what you promised to your child, that it was not empty promises. I realized that it was more about, we need to do this for all our kids, because then you become the parent of the world too. We need to help all these beautiful, wonderful kids that are just trying to survive, to be who they are. If you go back to when your child is still in the womb and you love them and you don't know the gender, you just love them. It doesn't matter. They're still, Daniel's still Daniel.
What I would say for trans youth, or really for anyone of the trans community, is that it does get better. I know there were many points in my life where like, this is never going to be over. You know, I'm always going to feel this way about my body. I'm always going to be treated poorly by people. And it gets better. What is really important, especially when these things pop up, is to understand how important a support system is and how important it is as trans to just be visible. Those things can be life-changing. We do have people on our side, and we do have people that are willing to fight for us.
When we do kind of impact work, this is what we hope, right? We hope to not only change the way that the law works, that the federal government understands the law, but that ultimately we're changing hearts and minds, and we're getting folks to understand and realize that supporting transgender kids is in fact good for schools. I think one of the unique aspects of this case is that shortly before this case resolved, the Arcadia Unified School District got a new superintendent, Dr. Van Osdal, and he was critical in implementing all of the changes that the school district agreed to resolve this complaint. And since, he's become a national leader in how to include transgender students in schools.
Every time I take a phone call from a superintendent or a board member, staff member across the country, I think of Daniel. Daniel, I think of you. Advocating for that access and the ability to thrive in a welcoming environment, should be a basic human right. And I believe you, Daniel, brought that to Arcadia. You opened our eyes, you gave us that tool belt, and we are a better organization, and we are better for students today because of you. So thank you.
There really aren't any words that can explain how happy I am just to know that I have all of your support, just to be where I am. I owe everything, all of my successes, because of the support that I've had from all of you.
Thank you, Asaf, for giving us all that time to go through this whole process and being adamant to continue in pushing and getting this to actually come into fruition. We couldn't have done it without you and NCLR and all the people that were around in that group.
Thank you so much for your kind words. Daniel, it's been an honor to represent you and your family. And one of the great added benefits has been to watch you grow up and to see how you've flourished since the case ended. But one of the even more amazing things is that this case has changed the lives of so many transgender young people across the country. Its impact is far greater than we can know and will benefit trans kids for generations to come.
Wow. Michelle, I just want to pause for a moment. I am so moved right now. The Sanchez family is an absolute inspiration, and particularly Daniel. They are quite literally trailblazers who didn't set out to be so. They just love their son and wanted what was best for him. This is the work that NCLR does, and it takes legal brilliance and patience and a team of incredibly committed people. Of course, it takes love and it takes heart, but I have to tell you, I see our thermometer up, and I know you're going to make sure people know how to make a gift, but I just want to recognize we are doing amazing, folks. We're making our way right up to $375,000, our goal. You can see your friends who are being generous. So I just want to thank you for your participation in this evening and all the time supporting NCLR. So Michelle, maybe you can sort of take them through what they need to do one more time.
Absolutely, Michael, and you're absolutely right. You know, we're all here because we are committed, and this is the work that NCLR does. When we need an organization or we need someone to fight for us, we have that. And so I believe it, even if it's been a challenging year, we're going to get to our goal. So let's bring up those giving instructions once again. Simply click the donate button at the bottom right of the viewing screen or text, which is very easy for a lot of us to do, including myself. Text your pledge to 91999. In the text, put NCLR and then the amount of the gift that you want to give and then your name. Then you'll want to hit send. So that's important. But the most important part is that you've got to click the link you get in return and pay the pledge. So I'm going to give you a couple half breaths to pay the pledge. We need you to do that and give that extra step. We're almost to goal. I know we can do it. While you're making those gifts, let's hear from more champions. These are our creators. Rebecca Sugar, the creator of Steven Universe. Paula Ramos, an incredible journalist and writer, and the indomitable Raquel Willis, an activist, a writer, and inspirer. These brilliant LGBTQ minds provide outlets for our possibilities and examples of the beauty and strength in our community.
Hi, everyone. My name is Raquel Willis, and I am so grateful to be one of the champions of justice for the National Center for Lesbian Rights this year. It is such a tremendous honor to be recognized by such an important and tremendous in its own right organization. I owe a great deal to NCLR for its presence, being on the front lines of LGBTQ plus equality and the fight for our rights. And of course, as a former national organizer for Transgender Law Center, it is not lost on me that that organization started as a fiscally sponsored project of NCLR. So there's so many ways exponentially that NCLR has made my career possible and my work on behalf of communities on the margins, and particularly Black trans folks possible. We are living in a difficult time, but our people are not strangers to difficult times. When I think about the wave of anti-trans legislation around the country right now, when I think of the ongoing epidemic of violence plaguing Black trans women and Latinx trans women and so many more folks, when I think about the ways in which we still do not have many protections as LGBTQ people in the United States and of course around the world, I lean into the power of our ancestors. There's a beauty in knowing that we are not the first to live these marvelous, fabulous, authentic lives, and that we are not the first to speak out and fight against restrictive ideas of who we're supposed to be. I know that being any kind of queer and any kind of trans is being a window of possibility into a world where everyone, even those who are not so blessed as we are, can live less encumbered by expectations that were set up for us. So I am so thankful. My work as a national organizer at Trans Law Center, as director of communications at the Miss Foundation, as executive editor at Out Magazine, and of course, so much of my community organizing has been rooted in the dignity and honor of our people, and it will continue to be forevermore. So thank you so much for this honor. I am so grateful. And I know that as long as we have folks committed to justice and liberation for the LGBTQ community, like those who work with and in tandem with NCLR, we are going to be able to create the world that we all deserve. Thank you.
First of all, it's an incredible, incredible honor to have been selected as a champion of justice. I think in this specific moment, I wish that my 15-year-old self, that past version of myself that had to hide the way that she loved and had to sort of conform and mold according to certain stereotypes about what it meant to be a Latina and what it meant to be a Latina who loved. I wish that that teenager could peek into the future, because she would soon understand that one of the best things that I've carried throughout my life has been to be part of the LGBTQI community. And not just because of the amount of pride and love that it's brought me, but I think more than anything because it's cemented a value that NCLR has always stood for, right? And it's this idea that you cannot achieve equality until no one is left behind. And that to me has always been a guiding principle of mine throughout my entire career, and particularly these past couple of years, where every story that I've told, every news segment that I've appeared on, every word that I've written or said out loud has tried to focus on redefining the Latino community, right? So that when you think of us, you're not just thinking of people that look like me or that speak in Español, que hablen Español, but that you're also thinking about Afro-Latinas and queer Latinos and transgender Latinas, so that you're thinking about indigenous folks and documented folks. So that when you think of us, you understand that our community is not just criminalized by the immigration system, but also by the criminal justice system, the economic system, housing system, so that you understand our whole story. And that has been what drives me every single day. That has been my passion. That has been my work, to always tell the whole story. And that's exactly why I am so honored to be receiving, this, to be in this moment with you all, because NCLR has always understood the whole story of what it means to be an LGBTQI person living and breathing and waking up in this country every single day. It is a fight that is painful, we know that, but we keep going, right? When I lose hope, I always think about the LGBTQI asylum seekers that I've met at the border. Because when the migrants are coming and they step into the United States for the first time, there is a smile in their face, there is a spark in their eyes, because they dream of the America that can be, right? Because they're thinking of a country that can be. And that's why I keep going. And so I thank you all for leading the way. I thank you all for protecting us, for defending us. And I will keep this honor in my heart for days and months and years to come. Thank you.
I'm so incredibly humbled to be honored as a champion of justice by the National Center for Lesbian Rights. Over the last 11 years, I've been fighting for LGBTQIA+ characters and stories in kids' animation. When we began this work, Don't Ask, Don't Tell was still in effect, and same-sex marriage wouldn't become legal for another half of a decade. I was told I couldn't speak publicly about queer characters or depict their love, even through sci-fi fantasy stories about vampires and aliens. It became clear to me that the real fantasy I was being asked to create for kids was a world where LGBTQIA+ people do not exist. I began to realize how harmful it had been to grow up inundated with this falsehood, and how that had kept me isolated. Years later, we've proven that an openly queer show with openly queer characters can be successful and beloved, but I know the progress we were able to make in kids' media was only possible because of years of activism and advocacy from groups like the National Center for Lesbian Rights. While we've made huge strides in kids' animation, I find myself with a new concern, that LGBTQIA+ youth are being recognized as consumers before they're being protected as human beings with basic rights to health and happiness. This has to change. I'm deeply grateful to the NCLR for their commitment to that change, for their protection and defense of marginalized youth, and for their fight against the oppressive policies that constrict our lives and our expression. Thank you so much.
I'm sure of it that you're sitting at home and sharing the same feeling as I am, and that is to be so proud to be an LGBTQIA plus person in this community with such incredible change makers. Our next special awardee isn't one person, but a group. Young, hopeful, and learning to change the world. The Radical Monarchs is a girls' social justice troupe earning badges like Black Lives Matter, Radical Pride, Pachamama Justice, Radical Coding, and you know what? I just wish that I can go back in time and be a radical monarch.
Hello, my name is Zoila. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a radical monarch in Oakland Troop 3.
Hi, my name is Maylee Wong. My pronouns are she and her. I'm a Radical Monarch's mom and also troop assistant for Oakland Troop 3. The Radical Monarchs are honored to receive the Champion of Justice Award from the National Center for Lesbian Rights. Thank you for recognizing the intersectionality of our work and our contribution to racial, gender, economic, environmental, and social justice.
I am Zella's little sister. Hashtag Senior Radical Monarch. This past year, I earned the Pachamama Justice, Radical Bodies, and Radical Love badge. Thank you again for honoring me and my Monarch sisters for our fierce work.
From our radical, proud family to you, thank you.
When I say radical, you say monarchs. Radical.
Monarchs.
Radical.
Monarchs.
All righty. I love the Radical Monarchs. That's amazing. Now, there is no shortage of heroes in the sports world. And our community, most particularly our transgender children, are experiencing some of the most hostile discrimination through state legislative efforts. These next champions for justice have used their voices and their talents to promote LGBTQ justice. Chris Cluey is a former NFL player and an early supporter of same-sex marriage and an advocate for LGBTQ teammates. Renee Montgomery wowed us this past year by not just taking a year off to focus on racial justice, throwing herself into the 2020 elections in Georgia, but then becoming part owner of the Atlanta Dream. Renee and her partner, Serena Grace, are a force to be reckoned with. We can't wait to see what they do next.
Hey everyone, this is Chris Cluey, and it is an absolute honor to be recognized by NCLR as a champion for justice. For those who don't know me, I was a punter for the Minnesota Vikings for 8 years, during which time I set a whole bunch of team records, but more importantly, I was able to use my platform to stand up for LGBTQ rights. In 2012, Minnesota had a proposed constitutional amendment that would have banned same-sex marriage, and we were able to defeat it. 6 months later, Minnesota legalized same-sex marriage, quickly followed by the Supreme Court legalizing it federally across the country. Now, when people ask me, hey Chris, you're not gay, why are you so invested in standing up for LGBTQ rights? And the answer I give them is always the same. LGBTQ rights are human rights, and when one person isn't free, none of us are free. That shows that our society has a problem and that we need to fix that problem, which is why the work that NCLR does is so important. We need to understand the intersectionality between LGBTQ rights, socioeconomic inequality, racial injustice, and the host of other ills and oppressions that a certain segment of our population is still trying to foist upon us. When you look at the recent stuff like the trans bathroom bills that are trying to be passed across a multitude of states, it's clear that the fight hasn't changed. It's just the focus has shifted from same-sex marriage to now trans rights. And once we win trans rights, it's going to shift to something else because unfortunately there are a lot of people in this world who don't understand that it's okay to be different than someone else. And so that's why I will always continue fighting for LGBTQ rights. And that's why I always continue fighting for human rights because they are one and the same thing. Thank you so much, NCLR. Thank you everyone who supports them. Trans rights are human rights. Peace.
Hi, I'm Serena Grace. And I'm Renee Montgomery. Thank you so much, NCLR, for recognizing us for the Champions for Justice virtual gala. It means so much for having my partner recognized for issues that are so near and dear to our heart.
Racial equality, gender equality, all of these things, LGBTQI equality, these are things that we're passionate about because of course we're a part of that fight, but we're fighting for things that we aren't just a part of, social justice, things that we're excited about because people are recognizing it. There's momentum. And you know that I always say moments equal momentum. So I want to keep it going. I want you guys to keep it going. Thank you to NCLR for having us here. Let's get it going.
Thank you so much.
For 22 years, our next guest steered this ship. And to be honest with you, I have not met anyone, or I don't know anyone, when this person's name is brought up that they don't say, "Oh, that's my friend." And truly, she is our friend. She's also a leader, but also our family. Let's welcome back Kate Kendall to give a very special award.
Good evening, my NCLR family. For 2 decades, it was the experience of a lifetime to lead the National Center for Lesbian Rights. And I now am the biggest cheerleader for the organization as I sit on the sidelines and watch the amazing work NCLR continues to do under the leadership of my friend and successor, Imani Rupert Gordon, the rest of the fantastic staff, and the terrific board. Tonight, I have the special honor of presenting the 3rd annual Kate Kendall Commitment to Justice Award to Cecilia Maria Salem. This month, Cecilia graduates from UC Hastings School of Law, and the world will be a better place with her on our side. Cecilia's life experiences as a queer Arab woman and a formerly displaced queer youth has provided her an intimate and personal understanding of systems that gravely impact our lives. She knows firsthand the role compassionate, trauma-informed, race-conscious advocacy can make in one's life. Her experience includes interning at the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, Oasis Legal Services, Catholic Charities, and the Refugee and Human Rights Clinic at Hastings. Cecilia has a strong interest in queer and trans asylum and migration, as she so eloquently stated in her personal statement. I am called to issues of queer and trans migrant advocacy because they present opportunities to advocate for some of society's most vulnerable. Migrants who face intersectional forms of discrimination related to their sexual orientation, gender identity, as well as along the lines of migration status, race, and class. It is my honor tonight, and please join me in congratulating Cecilia Maria Salem as she receives the 3rd annual NCLR Kate Kendall Commitment to Justice Award.
Thank you, Kate, for those kind and affirming words that are so humbling, coming from such a courageous, committed, and passionate lifelong advocate like yourself. Thank you sincerely to NCLR and its board for choosing me to be the recipient of this Commitment to Justice Award, knowing the indelible history of it being named for Kate in honor of her powerful activism, decades of tireless leadership in advancing the rights of LGBT people around the country, and her ability to foster meaningful human connection in the process is so deeply and incredibly moving. I am also honored to receive this award, knowing the passionate advocacy past recipients Lupita and Virginia embodied and have continued to pursue. As a queer kid of color growing up in a homophobic, strictly religious world in the suburbs of Ohio, the opportunity to work with and advocate for queer and trans migrants was beyond any ardent hope or dream I could have dared to imagine for my future, let alone to finish law school at Hastings with the support of such an esteemed organization like NCLR, whose legal activism has radically changed the course of the lives of so many queer and trans individuals in this country. I feel ever grateful to live in a city and be part of a community that is always teaching me queer ways of loving and being, and how to be part of a queer movement towards intersectional and greater liberation for its most vulnerable. All the thanks and deep gratitude, this honor is such an encouragement as I begin my path as a young queer attorney and as I continue to learn and grow as an advocate. I feel touched, moved, and inspired in continuing this call to serve. Thank you.
Oh, okay, Michelle, this has been a blast. Inspiring, incredibly fun, and so important. Just the words we're hearing and the stories we're learning about. Please continue to support NCLR. Put your hearts and your wallets behind this fierce organization. And again, instructions are on the screen.
To take us out, Michael, I just cannot contain myself right now. I know we've been waiting for this moment all night long, and I don't even think there's a word for it. I could say excited, I could say elated, but it's one of those things where, like, as a queer person, as a person of the LGBTQIA community, you've grown up having a shiro or a hero who has fought for you, has spoken for you, but who also is part of, like, expressing yourself, to finally be a part of that, to have them a part of an evening like this is just a dream come true. And so, to announce our final champion for justice, her music is the soundtrack to so many lesbians and queer folks, and she has not stopped. She just released her 22nd studio album, and her activism spans the environment, racial justice, reproductive rights, gender equality, and prison reform. And so I give you Ani DeFranco.
Greetings. Thank you to the National Center for Lesbian Rights for this honor. I am duly honored. There is no way around the patriarchy but through, and that modeling being free and being unashamed was a contribution in and of itself. So I will always walk alongside you in the fight for queer liberation and lesbian visibility and freedom for all of us. I will give you a song now called Shameless from back in the day. Remember this one? I cannot name this, cannot explain this, not really don't want to, just call me shameless. Can't even slow this down, let alone stop this. And I keep looking around, but I cannot top this. If I had any sense, I guess I feared this. I guess I keep it down so no one would hear this. I guess I shut my mouth and rethink a minute, but I can't shut it now, 'cause there's something in it. We're in a room without a door, and I am sure without a doubt they're gonna wanna know how we got in here, and they're gonna wanna know how we plan to get out. We better have a good explanation for all the fun that we have, yes, 'cause they are coming for us, baby. They are going to be mad. Yes, they're going to be mad, mad at us. This is my skeleton, this is the skin it's in, that is according to light and gravity. I'll take off my disguise, the mask you met me in, 'cause I got something for you to see. Just give me your skeleton, give me the skin it's in. Yeah, baby, this is you according to me. And I never avert my eyes, I never compromise, so never, never mind the poetry. Wanna run without a door, and I am sure without a doubt they're gonna wanna know how we got in here, and they're gonna wanna know how we plan to get out. We better have a good explanation for all the fun that we have, 'cause they are coming for us, baby, and they're going to be mad. Yes, they go back to be mad, mad at us. I gotta cover my butt, 'cause I covet another man's wife. I got to divide my emotions into wrong and right, and then I get to see how close I can get to it without giving in, and then I get to rub up against it till I break them. Oh, I get to rub up against it till I break the skin. They're gonna be mad. They're gonna be mad at me and you. They're gonna be mad. And all the things we like to do, they're gonna be mad. They're gonna be mad at me and you. They're gonna be. Just please don't name this. Please don't explain this. Just blame me all on me. Say I was shameless. Say I couldn't slow it down, let alone stop it. And say you just hung around 'cause you couldn't top it. All right.
All righty. Thank you, Ani DeFranco. And thanks to all of you who joined us this evening. We thank you for your generous spirits and your financial gifts. We quite literally could not do what we do without the incredible sponsors this evening. And we want to give a special thank you to Gilead for being our presenting sponsor. We invite you to please take note of all of their names as we scroll through them at the end of our program. Now, you can see so many names will start scrolling on your screen now. This will be followed by the names of our selfie contest winners. Right here, you're going to find out, and a photo slideshow of past galas to take us out.
This has been an incredible night. Gosh, like I said, it's been a dream come true. Michael, it's been so nice to spend time with you, even if it's virtually. I know we're going to see each other soon. And to all of you, we will see each other soon. We know that. Stay strong, stay safe. Thank you so much for spending your Saturday evening with us. And thank you so much, NCLR, for all that you do. Good night, everyone.